The most challenging part of doing these fox hunt transmitter controllers is interfacing between the radio and the microcontroller. Here I have an Arduino Uno that really only takes 3 pins, 3 wires to work. A ground, one to send the Morse, and the other to do the push to talk. But the challenge is having that connection to the radio, because these are specialty connectors. They've got a 3.5 millimeter and a 2.5 millimeter plugs, which plug into the side of the radio, like so. Okay. You could buy these plugs and solder them up. They are very finicky to work with. A slightly less annoying way of doing it, but still somewhat annoying, that I've had better luck with, is purchasing these inexpensive headsets. You can buy them in a pack of, I think, 4 or 5 at a time on Amazon. It's got the plug already, and it's got the wires. So what I do is I hack this cable, and it saves me a lot of time, because I really dislike soldering these jacks. They're really a pain, and I don't think I've ever gotten it really correct. So all you got to do with this for the first stage is, this is the mic and the push to talk area, and we're going to just use a pair of pliers and just kind of crack that open. Most of these aren't even glued, so you don't have to really work very hard to do this. So carefully pull it apart. You can pull out the little microphone that's in there too. So you can see now, let me adjust my camera a little bit, because we're doing real small stuff here. So I've cracked away this casing. That's garbage. The earpiece part is also going to be garbage, so I'm just going to bye-bye. You could save this for another project if you want, or you could throw it out. Doesn't matter. The other parts you have here are the push to talk button, which is this tiny little switch, and you have that little silver thing, which is the microphone, and you have the wires coming up. So next excuse me, next thing I would do is desolder these parts. You do not need the push to talk button, you do not need the microphone. You could save them for other projects. And hopefully what you'll have at the end of that is you'll have about 4 wires coming up from this connector. And I would recommend using your digital multimeter to check continuity to figure out what's connected to what. I've noticed that different ones have different color codes. This batch, it happens to use red for microphone, gold for push to talk, and blue for ground. And then they use green for speaker for some reason. So check your wiring. These are very fine wires, so you're going to have a hard time working with it. You're going to have to take your time and just be gentle. Don't rip them up too much, though it's still easier than dealing with soldering that stuff. Now what I did do on the Nano one, because the Nano has these headers, is I very, very, very carefully crimped some connectors, some headers here, single pin headers to each of the wires. This takes some time. You got to go slow. It doesn't require any soldering. You just have to take your time. You can see there's 4 wires here in the super simple Uno code. I do not use the speaker part because we don't listen for commands. All we need is ground and push to talk, which triggers the radio to transmit, and mic, which is what we're sending the audio Morse code through. So you could go directly with the wires to the Uno. It's probably not going to be reliable. I wouldn't recommend it. You're better off putting in some connectors, crimp connectors, or you could solder a larger wire onto these tiny wires. That might work also. I haven't really come up with a wonderful way of doing it yet, but so far I've made about at least a half a dozen of these, and I've still found that hacking this inexpensive connector and just desoldering and using the wiring to be a lot easier for me. So, good luck!